Quara. Quara. All right. Yeah, right here. Share it with you guys. All right, everyone. You see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. All right, so our Torah portion this week is called Qadashim, okay? And I can read to you in English right quick, but I don't know. English, like I said, it's always a huge problem for me because they really don't get down to it, okay? But it says, Yahweh said to Moshe, speak to the entire community of Israel, and you tell them, you people are to be, they say, holy because I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am holy. That's the opening verse of our Torah portion, which again, it says, why dober Yahweh de El Moshe lemor daber, commandment, to El called the Edath of Yisrael. Okay? Not just the people. There's a reason why he says this, because remember, he says before our last Torah portion, he said, go talk to the sons of Israel. Go talk to them. Here he says, I need you to talk to all of the congregation, all of the what they would call the aides, which are the witnesses. Okay, so we don't want to lose sight of what the congregation is. Okay, the congregation is nothing but a group of witnesses. And the reason why he's talking to them this way is simply because he's informing them about the most important part of their witnessing, which is that all the sons of Israel, including the daughters, and you say to them, Qadashim, right here, Qadashim, okay, not Kadosh, Qadashim. Qadashim, of course, means to be set apart, which means to be special. Okay. Everything that the Most High is dealing with us about is his set apartness, which makes it difficult for a lot of us because we understand this and we're living in a place where we're not really so-called set apart, Qadashim. And he says, you have to exist this way. Not that you only shall be. This word right here, the 1961, has its is root in Haya. Okay, you don't see it right here, but Haya means to exist. So what I'm going to ask you to exist is this. I need you to be Qadashim. I need you to be set apart for a special purpose. Okay, a certain function. Okay, the same word that you have here in Qadashim, to be set apart, has a connection as a prostitute would in her service. I know this sounds a little weird, but the fact of the matter is, to be kadosh means to be set apart for a special purpose. Okay, and that purpose can either be that for which is clean and that which is unclean. Okay, so like a prostitute, she's set apart. She performs a service, and that's exactly what she's supposed to do. She's not there to be married. She's not there for any other reason but her purpose. Okay, and in that regard, she is set apart. Okay, so the idea for us is that the Most High is letting us know that even the word Qadashim is not this idea of holy. It just means to be set apart for a special purpose. The purpose, okay, because the Most High has the same thing. And we know that he's not into prostitution. He actually condemns Israel for this. And he says that I, for ki et kadosh ani, I am Yahweh. I'm set apart. I'm special, okay? And I don't want you to lose sight of how special I am. This first word right here called ani, meaning I, if you notice, he says that I am Yahweh. Very important. That I there means not only I am in a grammatical way, but it means alone. I am alone. Me, I'm the only one who is set apart. I'm the only one who's Kadosh. I am the only one. Okay. And so if I'm asking you to become what I am, I'm asking you to be Kadosh. That im right here means plurality, meaning you plural. A group of people. Okay. That's what I want you to tell the whole entire congregation of Israel. That this is something that you and I must exist as. Okay. If you and I don't exist as this, like he is, then we won't exist. This is what he's saying. Okay. You and I cannot exist alongside of the Most High without existing as this. Now that poses a problem for us because we live in a place of our exile, which is very, very difficult for us to accomplish the Qadashim, to be set apart, okay? Fully, 100%, okay? And somebody give me some examples of why it's literally impossible.
Because we're not in the land.
Right. We're not in our land. So we are not able to perform a great majority of the things that he's asking of the children of Israel. There's a direct connection between the land and being Qadashim. Number one, because you and I are in exile, we're under the control of other people. We're under control of the nations. They're in control over our food. They're in control of our water supply. They're in control of our education. They're in control of literally everything. Okay. However, when the Most High has decided to come and reveal himself to us and our families, you might ask yourself, well, why is he asking this of me and I'm not able to achieve it? Right? Why would he say this? He's saying this because he's giving us the heads up that I alone am Yahweh and I am alone and you're Elohim. That's who I am. And if I'm saying for you to be Kadosh because I'm Kadosh, that means that in order for us to be in relationship together, you're going to have to understand and be able to meet this. This is what you're going to have to be. That's how you're going to have to exist, because there won't be a relationship without us, without this. Okay. So the relationship that you and I have right now is in a process of going to try to accomplish Qadashim. Okay. And the Qadashim doesn't mean that you and I are not going to be, without fault right now because of where we're at. And also too, that we don't have access to accomplishing any part of Qadashim. The idea of Qadashim is bigger than a religious definition. Okay. It literally means that one has to set apart themselves, not only in their body, but also too in their mind. Okay. And we're going to talk more about this week about how do we do this. Okay. And so what I've discovered so far, it has to do with one's behavior, and it has to do with one's actions. Okay. So our actions, put right here. Your actions and your words. Okay. So it's what we do, okay, and it's what we say that the Most High is concerned with. That's going to be the theme for this week. Qadashim is our Torah portion, but to be Qadashim, the Most High is asking us to do things, okay, and he's asking us to say things, okay, to say and not to say. right? So it has to do with words and it has to do with actions, okay? And how that's done, we'll look at some different ways in which he's talking, right? So when he talks about this next verse, which is very important to us, I want you to see an equivalence between Qadashim that he says he's asking us to exist as Qadashim, because I am Kadosh Shawa, I am Ani, I'm your Elohim, I'm the one who you belong to, okay? Verse number 3, Ish. That right there, they got is each and every one of you, right? But it has to do with the man. He says Imo and his Avi, okay? So his father and his mother he shall fear, okay? And Wa'eth, pointing directly to my Shabbats, okay? So he puts a definite article, okay, which is a direct object marker. This aleph in this top right here is an arrow that's pointing directly to what he's talking about. So he connects fear of your father and your mother to the Shabbats. Can anybody tell me why? Why do you think he would say? Because in the commands or in the 10 words that he speaks, he doesn't put the father and the mother. I want to be careful when I say this. He puts the Shabbats in the 4th words that he says. The parents are listed as the 3rd. Excuse me, not the 3rd, the 5th word that he says. So he says to honor your father and your mother, but in the words that he spoke, the 10 words, he puts the Shabbats before that. So why now did he reverse it? Why is he putting the parents before the Shabbats? Why would he say that? Anybody have any ideas about fearing them? Because here, this fear right here is not just to be afraid, but it also means to point the finger. Go ahead.
Maybe because they're the ones who would teach about.
Oh boy, you are dumb. Yes, because the parents are the ones that are going to teach, because the fear, thank you, Fanta. When they're pointing the finger, that's absolutely 100% correct. They're the ones who are responsible for teaching. And if they're going to teach, they're going to point the teaching back to the Shabbat. They're going to point the teaching back to the laws and the statutes and the commandments. That's what this is about. So you're 100% on it. Toda Rabbah for that. You see? So the fear, but also too, we find in this Torah portion, the Most High says that he's asking for the children of Israel to fear him too. And he doesn't change the word from one fear to the next. So this is where a lot of people are going to have a problem, because the way that we've been taught as Christians and religious people is that we've made a distinction and a separation between our fear for our father and our mother versus the fear that we have for Yahweh. And you say, well, I thought the Most High is more powerful than our father and our mother. I thought that he's all knowing, he's all powerful, and we should give him more fear than we're giving to our father and our mother. I want to explain this. In our culture, the Most High has designated the father and the mother combined together, because there's that wall right there, not just one, both the mother and father, to dispense the information about Yah's laws to the children, okay? The fear that they're supposed to have for the Most High is the fear that they're supposed to have for the parents. Because the fear that he said that you should have towards your mother and father is from Yah. So there's no distinction, okay? He's using the parents in order to teach the children about the fear of Yah. It's his fear. So it's not the fear of just your father's fear, your mother's fear. It's the fear that he gives to them that you should supposed to have, so you can listen to the teaching, so they can direct object marker you, direct you to his Shabbats, and to guard what he says. Okay? So this is a problem, because a lot of people don't want to give their parents the fear that the Most High said. Now, there are conditions upon this. right? If your father and your mother are not listening to the Most High, right? Should you do what they're doing?
No.
No. We're going to see this in our Haftarah portion, where he says, I talked to the children and I told them, don't do what your parents do. So there's an occasion where the Most High said, don't listen to your parents. Don't do what your parents do. Do what I'm telling you to do. So to have this fear is only associated with the fear of the Most High. They're supposed to teach you, like Fanta had brought out. They're supposed to teach the Shabbats, and they're supposed to teach them to guard it, and because I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I am alone. And this is indicative of the fact that he is our Elohim. So anybody who doesn't have any fear for their father and their mother, meaning also to the revere and to have respect, okay? What does the Most High say about someone disrespecting their parents? What does he say? What's the command? Did he tell? Yeah, that he tells Moshe in chapter number, somebody help me. What chapter did he tell Moshe that if somebody doesn't do what their parents say, that is curtains? Well, there's several places, but let's go to Deuteronomy chapter number 21, verse number 18. And for those of you who don't have children, you're going to have to understand that this is what you're going to have to teach your children. You know, it's hard being a parent, to be honest with you, because, you know, the age in which these kids are growing up and they don't have any respect. They listen to other people before they listen to you. They have more respect for their teachers and their jobs because they're giving them what they want for their future because they're afraid of their future. So listen what it says here. And this is just one place. It says, if a man has a stubborn and a rebellious son who will not obey what his father or mother says, and even after they discipline him and he still refuses to pay attention to them, then his father and his mother to take hold of him and bring him out to the leaders of his town and at the gate of that place, and say to the leaders of his town, this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He doesn't pay attention to us, lives wildly, and he gets drunk. Okay. Then all the men of his town, not the mother and the father, are to stone him to death. In this way, you will put an end to such wickedness among you, and all Israel will hear about it and be afraid. And if someone has committed a capital crime, it is to be put to death and then hung on a tree. And then it goes on to talk about what happens to him. So what do you guys see in this? Is this something that we can do right now? Do you see this going on in our community? No. Are there rebellious children?
Yes. Okay.
So what would be, in your opinion, what would be the remedy for someone who does this? What is our options? Let's talk about that, because we always talk about what they're going to be able to do. What should a person do today if they have a stubborn and a rebellious son or daughter who will not listen or obey his father and his mother?
You can cut them off, put them out.
Thank you. That's it. That's it. Is to cut them off. And tell us why, Akoti.
I'm sorry, I had it on mute. Because they are not being obedient and doing what you want, they're disrespecting and dishonoring you.
Yes, but guess who they're ultimately disrespecting?
Yahweh.
They're disrespecting Yah. Yah is the one who gives the father and the mother of the authority. You see, and then in the Hebrew, it talks about if you don't, you got to put an end to such wickedness, but it really talks about this foolishness, because what they're doing is being foolish. So what the Most High wants to do is he wants to remove foolishness from the community. because these things are going to wear off, and then, some other person's going to see this stubbornness and this rebellion, and then they're going to go do what they got to do. And then it's just going to spiral out of control. But this is not the only thing that's going on inside of the nation of Israel. There's other things too that the Most High addresses. But there was something that he said about a son or daughter. Let me see. I want to take sure you go there too. Was it there? I thought it was here. Holds 12 ounces, compensating revenue, blah, 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 blah. Da, 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 da. Person, okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. I knew it was there, 21. Okay. So that's the one place right there. Okay. The second place that I want you to mark down is I want you to go to the judgments of the Most High. This is found in, when we talk about the judgments of the Most High, we're talking about the Mishpatim, which is Yah's rules. This is his rulings. And this comes directly after he gave the 10 words to Moshe. And then he was still talking. When Moshe went up, he was still talking to him. And he said, okay, well, here's the judgments. Let me tell you about the judgments that I'm going to proclaim. And you need to, write them down, and you're going to bring them to the children of Israel and ask him to do it. So in the book of Exodus, chapter number 21, it says this, 21 and 17. It says, well, we can start right there. Ooh, wait a minute. Provide for whoever takes personal picture. Let's start in 15. Whoever attacks his father or mother must be put to death. Okay. In the Hebrew, it says if a person is to lay their hand or bump past you with the shoulder or any type of touch in any type of aggression way, the Most High said, whoever does this to his father or mother must be put to death. Okay. Then skip down to 17. Whoever curses his father or mother must be put to death. And this cursing right here is just basically behind a closed door. They're going to say something. They're going to be swift. Why is the pen? They're going to be swift with what the person, with the mother, father said. I mean, they're going to treat their words with very little care. They're not going to care. They're going to be real quick with them, snippy and snappy. So the Most High says anybody who's like that with their father or mother must be put to death. Whoever attacks his father or mother must be put to death. Whoever literally dishonors his father and mother, because that's what this is about being put to death. And the reason why they're being put to death is because they don't fear the Most High. Okay? They don't fear the Most High. So the fear of Yah and the fear that we're supposed to have for our parents is equivalent according to the Hebrew culture. The Most High is given that to the family in order to establish the rule of Yah in the house, as Fanta said, in order to teach the children. Okay. So the parents are going to have to be 100%. Okay. So we can learn from this. Verse number 4, he tells us not to turn to idols. Okay. And Elohims that are molded, nor make for yourselves, not to you, because I am Yahweh your Elohim. And again, that I there means I'm alone and there's no one else. Because idolatry is a big part of it. So being Qadashim, someone wrote something in chat. Let me see. Proverbs 30. Yeah, there you go. 30 and 17. It's another verse that talks about that. Okay. So we see too that if we want to be set apart from the Most High, then these are the things that we're going to need. So we're going to need fear for the Most High. We're going to need to be loyal to the Most High, to be Qadashim, because he says that you guys are going to go and there's going to be other gods. And I don't want you to take that, because I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I'm yours. Okay. And that means you belong to me. I am aloneness. So why would he tell us about the idols? As we learned from last week. What do idols have to do with being Qadashim or being set apart? The idols have to do with uncleanness. as I indicated in our teaching, it has to do with the manner in which we live our lives. Because if you worship another idol, you're going to eat certain things. You're going to think certain things. You're going to do certain things in a way that they do it. So if Yah is our Elohim, he's saying that, look, when I'm with you, I want you to behave in a certain way. You have to, and all the eating, thinking, and doing is basically living. I want you to live a certain way. Okay. And then he tells us, like, if you offer a sacrifice to the Most High, to Shalomim, to Yahweh, I want you to do it of your own free will. Okay. And I want you to give it to me off of that. Now, this word free will right here, it is about your will. It's called the Liritzonakem, which has to do with this Hebrew word called Ratza. I'll probably share it a little bit more on Shabbat too. Ratza. And Ratza has to do with one's desire. Okay. Of course, one's will. Okay. So, and it has to be pleasing. It has to bring some type of joy to not only the Most High, but it has to be pleasing to you. So what is he's saying to us? He's saying, and what is a Shalomim offer? What is that? That's a peace offering. Okay. So the only time a person, they don't bring this out of obligation to the Most High. Because it's a matter of if and when. If you offer this to me, what I want from you is, I'm really looking for your desire, and I'm looking for you to do this on your own will because it's bringing you pleasure. So the only way that you can get this pleasure is if you have a mind towards me, and if you have a heart towards what I'm asking you to do. Okay. But there's some conditions. There's a condition put on this. Okay. Which the Most High is telling us. In verse number 6, he says, on the same day, when you offer this, you can eat it that day, on the day that you offer it, and you can eat it on the next day. You can eat whatever remains of it on the next day. Okay. But he says, but any remains until the third day, it shall be burned in the fire. Verse number 7. And if at all it is eaten on the day of the third, it's an abomination. It's called a piglu. Okay. Or pigul, a pigul to who? It is an abomination, meaning that it is disgusting to me and it stinks. I don't want this on the third day. Okay. Because it is stink. I don't want it. It said it will not be accepted. So you only have a certain amount of time. Okay. So there's a time element that's expressed in bringing a peace offering to the Most High. Okay. So what he's saying is, when someone brings this offering to me, they have to do it in the time that's prescribed. If they don't do it and they allow it to stink, I'm not accepting it. Okay. I'm not going to accept it from that on. So what is he telling us? That you're only going to have peace with Yah only for 2 days? No, he's not saying that. He's saying that there's a time element that has to do with what? Because this is stink, right? It's an abomination. And our name of our Torah portion is Qadashim. So that means to be set apart. So if we don't do, so to be set apart, there's time and time element that has to do with to be Qadashim. Because in between times, can a person always remain Qadashim? Could they always remain clean? Huh? Set apart? No. So what we see is that there's going to be times that a person is Qadashim, and there's going to be times when people are not Qadashim. And it's only for a certain amount of time. Okay. And so the Most High is letting us know that when you bring something to me and I put something on, I set it apart, and you set it apart for me, it's only set apart for a certain amount of time. It's not you're set apart forever. Okay. Let me read something to you because it just popped in my head that I want to give you the best example I possibly can. I mentioned it last week that said that I wanted to teach on the book of Hebrews because they said something in there that was very disturbing, and I wanted everybody who was even considering to, think about, just accepting Christianity and, saying that, the Most High is He loves all people and all this kind of stuff. There's something he said in here about being pure, empathize, son of God, transform, son of God. Where is it? Hard to see firmly. I'm not really familiar with this whole thing, but man, I wish I knew exactly what it was. All right. Where I wanted to go, but I don't see it right quick. I don't want to waste any more time. And I'll find it and get back to it on probably on Yom Kamishi. Because it was a long thing. It talked about how they really believe that they've been purified. That's the part that I wanted to show you. Is like they actually believe that they have been purified from their sins, and concerning the gift of sins of his own sins of other people. Okay, I'll have to come back to it probably later on this week. But anyway, what they were saying is that they're 100% purified from their sins, and it's good for all time. Okay, so we see according to the Torah right now that that's not true. Anything that the Most High, the Shalom offering, the peace offering, was set apart by the Most High. As soon as it hits the altar, it has a certain time frame on it. So what we get out of it is you don't get no more than 48 hours or more. Okay, so this can only happen for so long. This is what he says about it. If you eat it on the third day, and if at all it is eaten on the third day, it's an abomination. It will not be accepted. It will not be pleasing. Okay. Verse number 8, and whoever eats it, anyone who eats this is going to take upon this awono, meaning this, he calls it perversion. Iniquity right here is called awono, which is perversion. Okay. Is perversion. It's a twistedness. Okay. So the person who eats this offering, okay, is like literally committing an iniquity. He said he's going to bear it. You're going to have to bear the consequences of it. And here's the consequence. He says, why? Because it is eth, pointing directly what it is kadosh of Yahweh. And if a person who eats it, what they did was they profaned his name. And then he tells us the final blow, why nikratha. They're going to be cut off, that soul, from his me'emeha, from its people. As you notice, the soul is feminine, and the people, and it says, I'm going to cut that soul off from its people, from her people. Okay. So a person can get cut off for various reasons, like we read last week. A person who's offering your children up to idols, a person who is sexually impure, a person who does any of these things. So now he says that if anybody eats this offering, see, so what it is everyone is like the Most High is letting us know that I'm nothing like you. And if I told you to do something and you decide that you're not going to do it, especially the things that have to do with my holiness, the things that are set apart, when I set something apart for you, you only have access to it at that certain time. Okay. And after that, it won't be good. So we see that this is not a lifetime. It's not forever. It's just at certain moments you can have that. And that's why he tells you that, when you eat it this day. If you don't, this word here is called kilel, which is kalal. And what that means is that you're going to not only poke, but you're going to tear a hole in something. You're going to pierce something. Okay. To pierce or poke or tear a hole in something. It's like you just got a brand new car and somebody comes along and takes a key and goes along the side of the door. Or somebody's delivering a washer or dishwasher or a refrigerator and they scratch the first part of the door. When they scratch that door, is it perfect at that moment? What happens? Is profaned. It's been marred. You understand? So the Most High is saying, you can't just go ahead and do the things that you want to do because you're going to mar me. You're going to mar the essence of who I am. You're going to poke a hole in my righteousness and my holiness. You can't do these things. Okay. You're going to bring something to me. And because a person who does this, I'm going to have to cut them off. So a person who does these things are going to be cut off. Okay. When I read this in verse number 9, I thought about the Most High, and he's telling us about being Qadashim. He says, you got to be Qadashim, for I am Qadashim. I'm Ani Yahweh. He says, when you reap your harvest of your land, right? Because they're not in their land at this time. He's given this while they're in the wilderness. And he says, you're not going to reap it wholly in the corners of the field, right? In the gleanings of your harvest, nor are you shall not gather it. I mean, you're not going to take a pouch and get everything. And it means that you're not going to complete the whole entire field, okay? This word, the corners, was in question for me. And it talked about, like, for example, this word, pa'ath right here, has to do with your mouth. So just like he asked a man, he says, when you have your beard, he told you not to go ahead and mar your corners at the edge of your mouth or around your jawline. You can't go in and cut into your beard, just like you can't cut into the field. Okay. And what he's saying too is that I care about the widow, the fatherless, and the stranger. So the Elohim is letting us know that when you talk about your neighbor, I'm thinking about their survival, and I'm thinking about their food. And so I don't want you to go, and I don't want you to be greedy, and I don't want you to be stingy. I think someone mentioned, I said, well, what does this, pertain to? And you said the land. You're 100% correct, because the bottom line is, this is part of the land that the Most High is saying, when you get there, you can't do these things, because that would be profaning Yah's name. So Yah cares deeply about the poor, okay? And he says in verse number 10, in the vineyard. So you're going to have harvests. You're going to have a vineyard. You're not going to glean every grape. And that gleaning right there, that what they call a pateret, you're not going to tear away everything off of the grapevine. This has to do with violence too. So a person that goes and they do these gleanings and everything, and you can see here it says lo, meaning never. A person that tears off every last one of the grapes off of a vine is as if they're showing violence towards the person, towards their neighbor. Okay. You shall never gather or tear apart. For what? For the poor and the stranger. The classifications of the people, meaning that you're going to prevent them in any type of way from having food. Okay. Because I am Yahweh. He said, you shall leave for them, because Ani Yahweh Elohim. So Yah is showing us his character. He's showing us his character. Verse number 11, you shall not steal. This is one of the words that he said in the 10 words. This is never steal. Okay. Never shall you also deal falsely. Okay. And never shall you lie. So what's the difference between lying and dealing falsely? What would you think the difference would be between lying and dealing falsely? Let me just pull it up for you. This word right here has to do with being deceitful. To grow lean, to fail. So you ask yourself the question, why would this be directly connected to, because remember, there's no putuka right here after what he just said in verse number 10. Verse number 10, even though it ends with I am Yahweh, there is no putuka. There is no closing and their opening of a new teaching. So verse number 10 goes with number 11. What he's saying, everyone, is if a person is to take away all of the food and edge up all the corners and strip all the grapes, the mindset of the person is one who is dealing in deceit, and they're dealing in the place where they don't want anybody else to eat. They're being stingy and they're being selfish. And also too, the way low right here is for this shakwer, it means to lie, but also too is to withhold the truth. That's what a lie is. A lie is to withhold the truth. Okay. So someone might be telling the story, but they're not telling the whole truth. They're not telling the truth about the story. When someone strips out everything out of the garden, they're being violent. And if the person won't listen, if a person won't leave any food for the poor and for the stranger, that's the person that will be the liar, and that's the person that will be the deceiver, because they don't care about anybody else. They really don't care. Okay, that's why the Most High attaches to Ani Yahweh. Yahweh is truthful and he's honest, right? And he wants us to be the same. He says you can't lie to one another. Now, there's a couple of words here that I'm going to go over because I don't know on the Shabbat if I'm going to have time. He says one another, right? And this word right here is called ba'amitho, right? The root of this word is called And in Hebrew means people. Okay, your people or people. Then we're going to see something where he talks about, I'm just going to go to it. We're going to hear him talk about your people. And then let's skip down right quick. Then he's going to talk about your neighbor. Let me show you. This one right here is your people. And right here is your neighbor. So there's and then he's also going to talk about your brother. Okay, so we got your people, your A-M in English. Then he has your reaka, which is your neighbor, right? Which that has to do with your Ra comes from what they would call roe, from a shepherd, meaning your neighbor is really your companion. Okay. So there's something he wants you to operate about your companion, meaning a close friend. And then, of course, your brother, which is your akika, right? So he uses these titles for your people and your neighbor. And I was like, well, why would he say you don't want to do this to one another, to your people? Then he says in verse number 12, you shall not swear falsely by the name of Yahweh, and because you will profane Yah's name if you swear falsely. So this falsehood, and when he talks about swearing is like anytime that you and I are to attest to anything or to agree to anything, he's saying that you can't do it in any type of way that's associated with Yah's name, but also too, even if you didn't use Yah's name, okay, you're still profaning his name if you swear falsely. Here's the thing. Our people, hear what I'm going to tell you, our people, they understood that anytime they said any type of promise, they always made a promise in Yah's name, his Bishmi, in his name, in the name of their Elohim. Somebody tell me why. Why in his name? Why would they make a promise in his name?
As a witness?
Yes, as a witness, but also too, when you swear a promise in Yah's name, you're literally saying, I guarantee what I just said. Yah's name is a seal of approval. It's the stamp. It's like the sign, like, you know, you put a seal on something. It's his designation. So as soon as you put that stamp on, it's like, this I certify. It's like going to a notary republic and saying, I certify this. You have to get something notarized. So every time that they would say anything or they would swear anything or do any business transactions, they would have to use Yah's name. That's the reason why he tells us that you're not supposed to use the name of any other gods. So the only name that's supposed to be mentioned is Yah's name. So when you have the people like the Ashkenazi and the Sephardians and all these other people going around saying, well, we don't use his name. because we're going to profane his name if we use his name. No, he didn't. Yah says, you shall not swear, listen, and not shall you swear by my name falsely. Don't do the shakwear here. Don't use my name and it's not 100% truth about what you just said. Remember, he said, if you said anything about me that's not 100% true, I'm not going to let that person go free. So if we're saying that Yah will kill the righteous and let the wicked go free, he said that's not 100% true. So he's advising us to be careful. And this was what being set apart, because his name is Qadashim, is set apart. Okay, so if we use his name, which you and I have authority to use, you and I have to use it with 100% unadulterated, uncut truth. So it is legal for us to use his name. They said it's forbidden to use his name. And that's not in the Torah. We can use Yah's name, but when we use it, we can't use it falsely. When we swear by it, we can't do that. So this is what people are going to say. And as we know, according to our text, right? Let me just give it to you right quick so you can put it in your file book and see what it is. In the book of Zechariah, meaning to remember. That's what his name means, to remember Yah. The book of Zechariah, chapter number 14, the Most High tells us this in verse number 9. He says this, then Yahweh will be king over the whole world. And on that day, Yohei will be the only one, and his name will be the only name. So what is Yah telling us? His name is set apart. His name is Kadosh. And because it's set apart, you and I can't mix it with anything else. We can't mix his name with a lie. We can't mix his name with deceit. We can't mix his name with being stingy. We can't mix his name with being disrespectful. We can't mix his name with profanity. We can't mix his name with impurity. We can't mix his name. That's what he's letting us know about this Torah portion. Because if you and I do that, a matter of fact, he told us that where you're living right now, you're profaning my name. Somebody tell me, how are we profaning his name?
Just being unclean.
Huh?
Just being unclean, period.
Thank you. Just being unclean, period. Like you said, Dr. Yared. And also to everyone, and this is not to make us feel bad, it's just to bring an awareness. Okay? When he says that you're profaning my name, the Most High said something about Israel that's true. Okay? He said that you are supposed to be kadosh and set apart. You're supposed to be away from the nations. You're not supposed to be involved in what they're involved in. So if you're involved in what they're involved in and you're doing the things that they're doing, are we not profaning his name? If we're eating from their tables and their fields, are we not profaning his name?
Yes.
Yeah. So profanation means that, listen, you live in a land and lands where you guys are not taking care of the poor and the widows. My people are not performing what I asked them to do. And we can't blame him for that. It's our fault that we are in exile, people. He said that you're supposed to be set apart because I'm set apart. The moment that you and I decided to not to follow, and I'm talking about you and I because we're Israel, then you and I chose not to be set apart. We don't keep our seasons. We don't have our priesthood. We have nothing. Is the Most High trying to tear us down? Yes. I'm going to tear you all the way down so I can build you back up. I'm going to tell you the truth about your situation so you would make up your mind about changing and having a different mindset. If I didn't tell you what it is, you would never know. And the question is whether or not you and I want to hear the truth. This is not a religious talk. This is not, well, let me just tell them that they're profaning my name just because they swore falsely, and make sure you don't swear falsely in his name. No. Yah's name is being profaned just in the simple fact of where we're living and how we're living. And what he wants to do is create something inside of us for a desire, a ratza, for us to want to be pleasing to the Most High. This is our way. This is his way, listen, of putting us in a place to cause us to want to turn back to him. Yah wants to delight in his people. That's what this is about. I want to show you what my expectations were and what they are. And if you can't fulfill those expectations, it's supposed to make you think, I can't do this. I don't have a land. So that would cause someone to say, well, if I got back to the land, would I do this? Yes, I would do it. Just bring me back home. That's what the Most High is looking for from his people to say, I can't do this and I want to do it. Don't cheat, verse 13. No shall you ever oppress, not cheat, oppress Epyoreaka. Your companion is the person you kick it with. And what he says here in 13 is like, I don't want you to oppress them. Your Epyoreaka, I'm pointing a direct object marker straight to the destination. This is different than your people. This is different. Well, what do you mean, Akika? Why are you saying this is different? It just says your neighbor. The other one up there said it didn't say, it said one another. Here's your neighbor. Because there's a certain type of oppression. Why is this thing doing this? There's a certain type of oppression that one can do to someone who's a companion. See, your people is a group. Your companion, your neighbor, which is wrong. This is your friend. The same word that has for a shepherd is rea or roi is the same letters that are used right here for a rea, which is a companion. Like a shepherd is a companion to the sheep and they're his companion and his desire is to always look out for them. That's what a friend is. That's what a true neighbor is. It's someone who's looking always out for someone and their desire is bent on their happiness. So the Most High is saying, I don't need you to oppress anybody that's your friend. Because as friends, you'll do a friend dirtier because you're close to them. And this word right here is talking about rob. Why would you rob your neighbor? He ain't talking about this guy that's next door to me who lives next door to me that I don't get along with because he wants to rake his leaves on my lawn because they came off of my tree. So he blows them right back on my yard instead of picking them up because they're in his yard. This dude is not my neighbor. He's not even a friend to me. So he's not a re'aka. He's not even my people. You understand? So the Most High is giving designations to let us know that I even understand how you deal with friends, not just your people. This right here about Thigzol, he's saying don't snatch anything away from your friend. You're so close to him. You guys have this great relationship, but in any friendship, and I want you to hear me and hear me well tonight, in any friendship, there's always somebody out of the friendship who has a greater sense of power than the other person you're a friend with. Friends are not equal. Friends are not equal, people. Some people choose their friends. Some people will choose you as a friend. Or you can choose somebody else to be your friend. And generally, the person that's doing the choosing is the one who's of lesser power. Hear what I'm telling you. If you choose somebody to be your friend, you're in a lesser position, lesser power. It's because you put the person, you wanted a relationship with them. They didn't come. If a person came and you say, hey, let's be friends. They're, kicking it with you, calling you, want to hang out with you and all this kind of stuff. They want the relationship. See, so they're the ones who is desiring the relationship. They're lesser in the relationship because they're the ones who are seeking it. There's power in relationships. Okay, so don't forget this. This is something that we have never been told. Okay, so when we're talking about our friends, right? You're talking about somebody, companion. The Most High said in any type of companion relationship, there's two things that can happen that I don't want to happen. I don't want you to oppress your friend in any kind of way. That oppressed right there means to put them under any kind of pressure. It's very possible in a friendship to be putting pressure on somebody to do something or make them feel a certain way. And if you make them feel this way, then guess what? The friendship might be compromised. Y'all doesn't even want that to happen in that type of relationship. You understand? This, like I told you, this one right here is to snatch away anything or take something away from somebody in a way that shows that you have greater power than them. Even though there's a greater sense of one being over the other and one desiring to have that relationship, we should never put a person in a position where they feel vulnerable that they don't want to lose the relationship. In order for us to be friends, you're going to have to listen to what I say. In order for us to be friends, you're only gonna have to go to the movies that I want to go to. In order for us to be friends, we got to kick it where I want to kick it. That's the only time we have for tonight. I hope you guys understand this, because guess what? I'm learning something tonight. So we stopped in part A of 13. Those friendships are important. And the Most High doesn't want us to take advantage of anybody in any given situation, no matter who's in power. If you think about it, he says the poor and the weak. So who is Yah talking to? Talking to the sons of Israel, talking to the congregation. I need to develop a character in you that says, you know what I do? I'm very, very powerful. I'm the person of upper power. I'm the person of the higher standard. I'm the person who can help the poor and the needy. I'm the person with all the goods and the resources. I'm the person who everyone desires to be a friend with. So if I'm going to make you the greatest of all the people on the face of the earth, I'm going to make you, I don't need your pride and I don't need your arrogance and I don't need your ego to outweigh what I want to happen for the people on the planet. So I'm going to let you know, because of the great power that I'm about to give you because of who I am, I want you to understand how to exercise that power in every area of your life. Friendship, community, around your people, your mother and your father. Yes, indeed, he's concerned with every aspect and every part of our character. And there's not one stone in our land, in our minds, Yah's not overturning.